Welcome back. In the previous video, we drew a histogram for the data we have here by using the class midpoint or the class mid value on the horizontal axis. In this video, we are going to draw the histogram again, but this time we will use the class boundaries on the horizontal axis. We are going to use the class boundaries, and so I'll bring a new column that will contain the class boundaries. We will now have to find the class boundaries for the different classes that we have. We have learned that to find the class boundaries, the first thing you have to do is to select two consecutive class intervals. That is, two class intervals that follow each other. So in this particular example, I'm going to select the second one and the third one. So 15 to 19 and 20 to 24. Now, after selecting two consecutive class intervals, the next thing you have to do is to subtract the upper class limit of the first one from the lower class limit of the second one. The first one is 15 to 19. The upper class limit is 19. The second one is 20 to 24. The lower class limit is 20. So what it means is that I'll subtract 19 from 20. 20 minus 19 will give us 1. Now, after subtracting the upper class limit of the first one from the lower class limit of the second one, you divide the result by 2. When you subtracted 19 from 20, we had 1. So we will divide 1 by 2. 1 divided by 2 gives us 0.5. Now, the next thing you have to do to get the class boundaries is that you subtract that value. So here we will subtract 0.5 from the lower class limits, and then we will add 0.5 to the upper class limits. So all the lower class limits, we will subtract 0.5 from it, and then all the upper class limits, we will add 0.5 to it. So let's begin with the first one. 10 minus 0.5 will give us 9.5. 14 plus 0.5 will give us 14.5. So the first one will be 9.5 to 14.5. The next one will be 14.5 to 19.5. The next one will be 19.5 to 24.5. And then the next one is 24.5 to 29.5. The next one is 29.5 to 34.5. And the last one will be 34.5 to 39.5. So we now have the class boundaries for all the classes. So we can now draw the histogram. We will have the frequencies on the vertical axis because we know that the class width or the class size of all the classes are the same. We will have the frequencies on the vertical axis and then the class boundaries on the horizontal axis. Let's go onto the graph sheet and draw the histogram. We have the graph sheet here, and in our table we have the class boundaries and the frequencies or the number of workers. On the vertical axis, we are going to have the number of workers. Looking at the values that I have here, I'm going to choose a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 worker on the number of workers axis, just as we did in the previous video. So using this scale, we will number the vertical axis just as we have here. And then on the horizontal axis, we are going to have the class boundaries, which is the age of the workers. The class boundaries starts from 9.5. The smallest one is 9.5, and it ends at 39.5. I'm going to start the numbering from 9.5 and continue with the order that we have here. So I'll bring this sign here to show that the part of the scale before 9.5 has been broken off. Okay. Now we will have to determine the width of each bar. Like I did in the previous video, I'll make each bar occupy 10 minor divisions. So when I begin from this major grid line, when the bar starts from this major grid line, it will end on this major grid line, which is the next one. It starts from 9.5, so it means that the first one will be 9.5, and then the next one will be 14.5. The one after that begins from 14.5 and ends at 19.5. The next one begins from 19.5 and ends at 24.5. The next one begins from 24.5 and ends at 29.5. The next one begins from 29.5 and ends at 34.5. And the last one begins at 34.5 and ends at 39.5. So we have the horizontal axis numbered nicely. Now we can easily draw the bars. The frequency for the first one is 6, so it means that the height of the bar will be at 6. It starts from 9.5 and ends at 14.5, as we can see here. The frequency is at 6. The next one starts from 14.5 and ends at 19.5. The frequency is at 8. So we have that here. The next one starts from 19.5 and ends at 24.5. And the frequency is at 11. So we have that here. The next one starts from 24.5 and ends at 29.5. And the frequency is at 10. We have that here. The one after that starts from 29.5 and ends at 34.5, and the frequency is at 5. And the last one starts from 34.5 and ends at 39.5, and the frequency is at 3, just as we have here. Now after that, you can add a little design to it, just as we have been doing all along, so that it will look nice. We have the histogram for the data that was given to us, and this time we used the class boundaries on the horizontal axis. We will have to choose a title for our histogram. The data shows the ages of workers in the company, so my title will be a histogram showing the age distribution of workers in the company, just as we did in the previous video. Comparing the histogram we have here to the one we drew in the previous video, you can clearly see that the main difference is in how we number the horizontal axis. So when you are using the class boundaries and the class midpoint, the main difference is in the numbering of the horizontal axis. Apart from that, every other thing is the same. When you are given a grouped data and you are asked to draw a histogram for the data, you have to choose which one to use, whether you are going to use the class midpoint or the class boundaries on the horizontal axis. And any one of them that you decide to use, you are going to end up having the same histogram. The only difference will be the numbering on the horizontal axis. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to this channel for more videos. In the next video, we are going to solve another question on drawing a histogram for a grouped data. Bye-bye.